Click that like, click the sub, and let's get into it. Coming in at tip number 1 is perspective. Most people think, well, of course it's your eyes because how else could it be a first-person shooter? Well, actually, it's between the eyes of your character, and I know what you're thinking, Flax, I don't care, but you should because this makes gunfights harder sometimes. In the next few clips, I'll be showing you how being too close to an angle can be detrimental to your gameplay, and how it can lose you more gunfights. In this first clip, you can see I'm being shot from what seemed to be a ghost. However, it's because I'm too close to this door frame and I can't see the Ella, because my perspective is through the scope, but she can see my entire body. This clip shows how you can get an advantage off of this. The Ella can only see so far, but I can see her entire head in this clip. She can see me now, but as I move over this way, she can't see me at all, and I can get free shots on her before she ever knows I'm there. So don't start saying that the enemy is cheating just because they saw you before you saw them. It was really your fault. Speaking of your fault, here comes tip number 2. Stop blaming your teammates for your death. 80% of the time, the reason you died is your fault. Whether you swung when you shouldn't have, or didn't swing at all and got swung. Most of the time, the reason you are dead is some fault of your own. Maybe you didn't drone a room. Maybe you didn't set up the site correctly. It's your fault. The less you blame your teammates and the more you take responsibility for your mistakes, the quicker you can learn and not make those mistakes in the future. Now notice I said that 80% of the time it's your fault. The other 20, you may get wall banged, you may get blown up by a C4 from below, you may have not warmed up and you're just losing your fights. Just take a moment, stop playing the game for 15, 30 minutes, just think about what you're doing wrong and try to fix it. Now, you may want to go warm up in an arcade. Hell, you may want to get some vitamin D or go touch some grass. We know you need to. But you just need to take a break and then come back to the game, maybe even the next day. Coming in at tip number 3 is droning and map control. See, when you have control of the map and you know that no one can flank you because you have taken these rooms that are behind you, you can be more confident in your gunfights going forward and win more of them. What you need to do before every drone or every prep phase, you want to have one person find the bomb and preferably all 5 operators and see what they're setting up in the site. Everyone else needs to have a drone in either a room or a room next to where you're going to be pushing. So that it's one less room you have to check. You just get somebody to hop on the drone, they check the room, and then you swing and collect all of the extra ground that the enemy's giving up. This in turn forces them into a smaller area of the map, and once you have 4, maybe 3 people looking into this small area, the kills become free. They get into what we call a kill box, and they have nowhere to go, and they are just funneled into your line of sight. And as long as you don't suck at aiming and you can pre-fire here and there, it's easy kills. Number 4 is your crosshair placement. A lot of people will tell you aim at that top buckle, and you hear this all the time, but until you start doing it, you're going to keep losing gunfights. Your crosshair should always be at headshot level when swinging. Now, on console, I do understand that a lot of people like to crouch. If you hear them crouch, swing with your crosshair a little bit lower so that you can flick down easier and headshot them. But never have your crosshair looking at your own feet. That will never get you anywhere. Coming in at tip number 5 is mental notes. Say you drone the site and you see that there's a cap can. Now, obviously, you're not going to be staring at the floor waiting for cap cans to just appear at every door. But before you walk into common chokeholds, make sure you check that there's no cap cans there so that you don't give him any free picks. Another example is if they have like a Mira Azami on kitchen in Coastline, but they don't bring a Jaeger. That leads to free Zofia and Ash charges to blow these things up. You just want to plan ahead and take notes of what's going on in the round. So say someone is roaming upstairs and it's a 2v1 and you got one guy in sight. You kill the guy in sight and then you may want to start to plant knowing that he will be coming from upstairs, so it may take a minute. At number 6, we have swinging. You always hear swing or be swung, but it really is the heart and soul of the game. See, when swinging, you get a few milliseconds more where you're seeing the enemy than the enemy is seeing you. So even if you have a slow reaction time, you're getting more time to react to the enemy than they are to getting to react to you. This will lead you to shoot them first, and I mean, if you don't have bad aim, you're headshotting them well before they can even do anything. Another thing that comes with this is knowing when to swing. You don't always want to swing. So say there's 4 people in sight and they're all holding angles on you. You don't want to swing all 4 of them. You want to swing the closest one you can to where you don't expose yourself. You expose yourself to one person, then you isolate that gunfight, and you can move on to the next gunfight. And as you isolate these gunfights, it's becoming miniature 1v1s rather than a 4v1, leading to a lot more kills. At number 7, we have aim training. When you're doing aim training, you're going to want to train your quick peeks and your tracking mainly. If you want to train tracking, you'll use these settings, and as you can see, you use this one ball, and you're going to keep it in the center of the circle on the new 1.5 site. This will allow you, and you can also do this with a hollow too, for the 1x sites, but this will allow you to track better when an opponent is swinging you and you need to hit their head. Now, for quick peeking, you're going to use these settings, and then you'll come up to this window, and you'll just peek like 20 times one way, peek, shoot. Then you'll go to the other side of this wall, and you'll practice it on that side, peek, shoot. And as you do this, you'll get better and more mechanically sound with your peeking, and this will lead to much easier gunfights for you as you know where your crosshair will be. Coming in at tip number 8 is playing support. And I know this sounds crazy. Flax, how is playing support going to help me get my KD higher? That sounds counterintuitive, but it's really not. If you just take a moment, step back from the main gunfights that the entry fraggers take or the roamers take, and you play the Mira or the Cade, and you just sit in sight and hold an angle where you know the enemy has to peek you, all you do is just you're taking yourself back. You're helping the team. Maybe you get on Valk cams and you watch and ping for your teammates. Because believe it or not, your teammates really aren't as bad as they seem sometimes. They just don't know where the enemy is. And you can win a lot more games like that. And taking this break, you'll just see more gunfights from a different perspective and get easier kills sometimes when people want to be the hero and they try to swing sight and you just drop them instantly. At number 9, we have pre-firing. You always want to pre-fire common angles. See, I have teammates, they'll say, oh, he's cheating because he just knew I was there. It's because you were sitting in a very common area. If you're holding, say, the Bolo Peak on Oregon, they're gonna pre-fire that, or they may even flash it, then pre-fire it, because it's so common for someone to be sitting there with a shotgun waiting. So they're going to do their best to pre-fire you so that you don't even have time to react. Because see, the whole swinger be swung gets multiplied when the bullets are flying before the person swinging can even see. Then the person who is being swung and pre-fired has zero chance. So anytime you don't have info that there's no one in a room, you should always pre-fire the common angles. And don't just tap fire at the angles. You need to be holding your trigger button so that if they aren't there yet, or say you're holding a peak and like you know they're about to peak, don't just sit there and tap, tap, tap. If you can't control the recoil holding it down, you should not be using the gun. But if you can control the recoil, you want to be holding your button because it's almost like a magnet. When you're holding a tight angle like that and you start just shooting, they feel like they have to peek it again, and it's the freest kill ever. And with our final tip, which is arguably more important than anything else on this list, you need to switch your crouch bind to your left bumper. Whether you're on PlayStation, it's L1, or Xbox, and it's LB. This will allow you to crouch up and down while swinging to change the height of your head. So if they're pre-firing head height, you can crouch under those bullets. You'll see me do that in some of these clips. I'm always crouching right before I shoot. This allows you to dodge the better players who are aiming headshot height. Now, to do this, it's really easy. You'll just go into your settings on your respective console, look up a YouTube video, they'll show you how to change it. It will take a few days to get used to, and you'll notice once you first start, you're going to be doing a lot of laying down. You're going to be holding it too long, but that's okay. As you get used to it, you'll get 10 times better at gunfights. I promise you.